Shao Kahn created us as well. You cannot kill what is already dead. Magic binds me still.
Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. This time you voiced your opinion once again on Twitter. And this time the vote goes clearly to Shaolin Fist Kung Lao. The first time around it was a tie, and so he got his second chance, and this time he made it. So now we will give him a proper review, and then let's take a closer look at what Shaolin Fist Kung Lao is all about. Shaolin Fist Kung Lao is part of the martial artist class, and his passive is called 5 Fingers Technique. While Kung Lao is tagged in, all martial artists on his team get 50% power generation. If Kung Lao defeats an opponent, this bonus is increased to 100%. Kung Lao's gear piece is the bladed hat, and it gives you 45% toughness boost, 40% special attack 1 damage boost for Kung Lao characters only, and 25% chance to reflect 100% basic attack damage when blocking. In terms of his feats of strength, he will have to knock out 500 reptile enemies to unlock his rune. For his victory stances, he will have to win 750 matches in faction wars. For his taunts, he has to knock out 1000 enemies. For his icons, he has to win 200 matches in challenge mode. For his backgrounds, he has to perform 250 X-ray/fatal blow attacks. And for his titles, he has to win 500 matches in battle mode. And now we are going to take a look at his victory stances one by one, starting with victory. The next one will be warming up. Third, we have the Shaolin Warrior. And exclusive for Shaolin Fist Kung Lao only, Whirlwind. And on your victory screen it will look like this. Now I'm going to scroll through all of his backgrounds. Next up we have the icons. And finally the titles. Shaolin Fist Kung Lao has 2 kinds of combo enders. The first one is a double kick that pushes the opponent back and also keeps him standing, so you can use a follow-up attack, and often leads into a combo ender. His second combo ender is a jump where he uses his hat to slap the opponent. This attack will knock the enemy down to the ground and makes it a little bit harder for follow-up attacks. One thing that's really great about him is that it's very easy to chain his combo enders together. His special 1 attack is called the Spin Toss and it doesn't have any effect tied to it, so this one will simply deal damage. And even though he pushes the opponent back quite a bit, he still pushes them out of reach, which makes it a little bit harder for follow-up attacks, but therefore the special one is at least capable of knocking out your opponent, and you can boost the damage output with his gear piece. His special 2 attack is called the Air Dive Kick and it has a stun effect tied to it. This attack has a very high damage output, but in case it doesn't KO the opponent, it will at least stun them, so you have the opportunity to either tag out or continue with follow-up attacks. And you guys probably already expected it, of course this attack is capable of knocking out your opponent. His X-Ray is called Head Trauma and it has a strength buff tied to it. So just in case this attack doesn't knock out your opponent, you will continue with way more strength than before. Needless to say, since it's an X-Ray, is that all variations of Kung Lao have the same X-Ray, so there is nothing new to see here, but still it's always quite fun to use it. For his passive there are not really that many visuals that we could put up here. Mainly you see just that notification once he KOs an opponent that the team has more power generation than before. And also noteworthy is that if he knocks out a second opponent, the percentage will not increase to 150 or 200, it will just stay at 100. But at the end of the day that makes still double the power generation than usual. Shaolin Fist Kung Lao is a challenge card and as such it's really quite easy to obtain him once his challenge is up. You can directly fuse him 3 times, unless you unlock him, then of course then the fusion will only be by 2. And he surprisingly fares very well in battle, which is of course mainly due to his special 2. I was never really a fan of the head toss or the spin toss. But given his extreme power generation and the high damage output of the special 2, in combination with stunning the opponent so you can perform follow-up attacks right away, that makes him a very dangerous card. And also another thing that I really like about him is how easy you can chain his combos together. If the timing is right, you basically can perform an entire string on one opponent, leading all the way up to a special 2 which is reached in pretty much no time, and then just KO them with that devastating special 2, and if not then they are still stunned and you can just continue, rinse, repeat. And of course not to forget that he's very useful to his martial artist teammates, who immensely benefit from this passive that Kung Lao brings into the team. So now it's time for the pros and cons again, and my first pro of course has to be that amazing special 2. That high damage output combined with the stun is simply gold. My next pro for him is of course that the combo enders have a high chance to be triggered. And especially if you increase that chance with precision from the talent tree, he basically has the combo ender each time he gets through. My third pro, and that's of course only important if you play him with martial artist teams, is that he's a great supporter. The high power generation that he shares with his teammates is actually noticeable, and therefore it's really worthy to have him in a team. As far as the negatives go, my first con would be that he looks a little bit bland, and that means actually a lot because I'm not really a fan of the hat-trick variation, but I think the Shaolin Fist Kung Lao variation takes the cake in looking the worst of all Kung Laos we have. The best looking would of course be Shaolin Master. Another thing, and that actually costs him quite some popularity for me, is that he needs gear to boost his special 1 attack. And given the fact that his gear piece is an armor, I always tend to give my characters other gear pieces, so the bladed hat will always be on quest, unfortunately. I simply have no use for it. And that directly leads into the third con, because with useless gear, the character is not as good as he could be, and it's really a shame because this Kung Lao variation could be so much better if they would give him like a real solid special 1 damage output instead of making this depending on an armor. All in all, I would give him a 7 out of 10. He's really a good character, there is no question about it, but he could be so much greater if there were like these little flaws a little bit adjusted. But yeah, that was Shaolin Fist Kung Lao in a nutshell for you guys. And as always, I thank you again for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this review, and of course we'll be back for the next review, challenge video, faction wars video, whatever comes up on my channel. And of course there's always the possibility of new updates and therefore news. So please like, comment and subscribe. Also hit the bell notification so that you will really be notified once a new video goes online. And I would say that brings me to the end of this video. I wish you all the best, stay safe and healthy. Casey over and out for today.
Thank you for watching, Australia. If you enjoyed the slaughter and the bloodshed, you can support the channel by clicking on the like button. You can also click on one of the 2 videos presented by Baraka here. Also make sure that you are subscribed and click the bell notification icon to be notified upon new uploads. You all know the drill. Wound not kill, have a good one, and see you next time.